I want to be clear that, like, law enforcement isn't to prevent crime. Law enforcement solves crime. Okay. That is what they are supposed to do. They are supposed to solve crimes, not
Wait, hold on. I'm gonna play this again. A sitting member of Congress just said police aren't here to prevent crime, only to show up after. If that's the playbook, tell the families who live with gunshots at night that prevention is optional. Let's just hear this one more time, though.
I want to be clear that, like, law enforcement isn't to prevent crime. Law enforcement solves crime. Okay. That is what they are supposed to do. They are supposed to solve crimes, not necessarily prevent them from happening per se. I want to be clear.
Oh my gosh. Matt Van Swope said, truly one of the dumbest statements ever made by anyone on planet Earth. Look, language matters. You tell predators we don't prevent, and they hear open season patrols, hot spot policing, school officers. Let me calm down. Those exist to stop the next trigger. You know what I mean? From being pulled. Not just document it. If your theory collapses the moment you walk outside in a dangerous zip code, it's not a theory, it's a luxury take. Oh my gosh, man. Like, truly incompetent is just, it's not even an understatement, man. Like, but quick 45 seconds, man. Protect what shows while you argue theory, right? This channel runs Aura for our own security reasons. Roll it. I know I'm interrupting right now, but you really need to hear this. You know about them spam calls and text messages that you annoyed at getting? Yeah, you want to know why you're getting them? Sit tight, I got you. You see, what's happening is these big tech companies, they're not doing a good job of keeping our data safe. I feel like they're not even trying. Did you know that Bank of America recently had a breach where a vendor mishandled documents exposing customer data like social security numbers? And could you believe that they didn't inform you about this because they felt like it wasn't a good time for them to do it? They waited maybe even a year to inform you. What's also included in that stolen data is full names, addresses, email addresses, your credit card information. And I don't want nobody having that much on me. And this is why I have to bring to your attention the sponsor of today's video, Aura.com. You see, Aura alerts me if my data is ever breached, giving me fast fraud alerts and removes my info from data broker websites to cut down on spam. Aura also offers transaction monitoring, VPN, antivirus protection, parental controls, and identity theft insurance, all in one affordable app. Listen, if my info was ever compromised, I wouldn't even worry about it because I know I got Aura in the back keeping me safe. And this is why I can no longer allow yourself or your family to stay unprotected. So in order to ensure that protection, I'm going to need you to head over to aura.com/kingdomreacts right now, where you can get your first 2 weeks for free. You heard that right. And I'll do you one better. The link will be in the description waiting on you. Now, we protect our data. Now let's protect our streets. Watch how logic fails and falls apart every single time, y'all.
I want to be clear that, like, law enforcement isn't to prevent crime. Law enforcement solves crime. Okay. That is what they are supposed to do. They are supposed to solve crimes, not necessarily prevent them from happening.
Right.
And she is a sitting member of Congress. These are the type of politicians you get when you focus more on skin color and gender over competency and basic common sense. She's helping draft legislation for this nation. I'm going to give you a perfect example and show you how stupid what she just said was. Okay, what did she say?
Law enforcement isn't to prevent crime. Law enforcement solves crime.
All right, let's use her logic and let's apply that to a mass shooting.
Let's do it.
Shooting at a school. So if there's a shooting at a school, the officers would just sit in the parking lot until the shooter ran out of bullets. And then they would just stroll up with a clipboard afterwards to collect evidence. Because remember, they're not there to prevent crime. They're there to solve it. I'm going to say this again. This woman is in Congress. This is what voting Democrat gets people. The entire purpose of active shooter protocols are about prevention of more crimes, more murders, more killings. If what she was saying was true, there would be no point for patrols. Just sit at the police station until a crime is called in and then go try to solve it. Patrols are one of the most basic deterrence tools that law enforcement uses. These people are unbelievable. Just a reminder, I have a free email newsletter where I cover many of the things that the mainstream media won't. I also
Yes.
give you morning updates about what's going on. The link is in my profile. Just go to
Definitely.
my profile, click that link, drop your email, and hit subscribe, and you'll be good to go. That's all I got for now. We'll see you in the next one.
Definitely support our guy, Jeffrey Mann, man. In his newsletter, I make sure I let him say the whole thing every time. But Jeffrey says the quiet truth. If cops never prevent, why do we train active shooter protocols? Why do patrol cars exist? Why do we surge officers around parades, schools, concerts, every public event you could think of? Almost, at least. A presence deters. And we know that, but y'all don't seem to understand. Okay. Prevention is the point. But experts say cops don't make a difference. Experts. Okay. Let's go to the network that loved that line.
Let's think about policing differently as we try to address an issue of safety, which every community deserves. Does that make sense?
It does.
Well,
Joe, take it.
Well, but the thing is, you talk about how cops on the streets won't make a difference. I will tell you that one poll after another has suggested otherwise. When you speak to Black Americans, when you speak to poorer Americans, there's a Washington Post poll that we've talked about quite a bit over the past several weeks since we talked about additional troops in Washington, D.C., and that is 91% of D.C. residents said that crime was a serious problem. The people that said crime was a very serious problem overwhelmingly were Black residents. Those who said it was not a serious crime predominantly were white, rich residents. And the demographic who said that crime was the biggest problem were Black women. I go back to 2020 when there were a lot of hipsters talking about defunding the police, a lot of political activists talking about defunding the police. You can find New York Times articles in real time about communities predominantly with people of color in some of the poorest and most dangerous parts of New York City. And their city councilmen and city councilwomen were saying, defund the police. What are you talking about? We need more police on the streets. We need more safety officers in our school. We need more police officers making sure our children and our mothers can walk to school and walk to work without being stopped by gang members. So I guess that's my question back to you. When you're speaking generally about this, are you speaking as an academic? Are you speaking as somebody who reflects these communities who say we live in a dangerous city? I know rich white people in Georgetown may feel more comfortable, or in Northwest Washington may feel more comfortable, but in Southeast, we don't feel more comfortable. We want more cops.
No, Joe, I'm not just speaking as an academic. I'm speaking as a Black man who has been reared in the United States with a deep-seated suspicion about whether or not police actually are engaged in protecting our communities, right? Having had to talk, right, from a young man, from a young boy. So there's not this relationship to the police that you're presupposing. And let me just say this, I think.
No, I'm not presupposing.
Let me just make this point.
Hold on, Eddie.
Eddie,
I'm not presupposing anything. I am giving you data. And by the way, are you living the same experience that you're talking about, that we've talked about on this show for 18 years with you and Gene Robinson and everybody else? But is your experience in Princeton the same as somebody's in Anacostia?
Of course not. Of course not. There are class differences. There are class differences that complicate.
The person in Anacostia.
Man, even on Morning Joe, right? The numbers cut through. People actually living with danger, Black moms especially, keep asking for more safety on the block. Not less. The folks in the safest neighborhoods don't get overrule families. They don't get to overrule a family's catching the strays. That's not okay. And if you still think policing is strictly after the fact, hear from someone who wears the badge.
Today.
So I just heard an elected official, Jasmine Crockett, state that it is not law enforcement's job to prevent crime. with all the people dying in Chicago last week, 50 people shot, 8 people dead, with mass shootings happening, it disheartens me for her to say that. I'm not going to say anything disparaging about her. I know I can get a lot of likes and a lot of clicks and a lot of shares, calling her all kind of names. I'm not going to do that, but I am going to respectfully challenge her opinion. As a police officer, I did not sign up to be an after-the-fact entity in the lives of the people I serve. I did not sign up for that. I did sign up to prevent people from dying. You see, I'm an 80s baby. I'm a 70s baby, and I grew up in the 80s where people of color were getting shot down left and right. I would have loved to have seen a police officer, more police at that time. I policed in the 90s and the 2000s where bodies were dropping left and right. People were dying. People were getting shot. I would have loved to have more partnerships, more officers to be visible and present to deter all those precious lives from dying. It is my job to prevent crime. I don't want to show up after someone's child, someone's auntie, someone's grandmother got shot and they're laying in the street and their blood is running down the gutter. I don't want to show up after the fact. I don't want to have to make the notification that their loved one is not coming home. I would rather be visible, meeting with the community, try to deter it, be at the flashpoints, be at the anchor points, be at the hot spots so I can stop people from being violently assaulted and dying. And I would like for you, instead of taking the time to score political points against the president, to step away from your TDS just for a second and encourage more people to sign up and be law enforcement officers so we can be present, okay? So we can be present to prevent horrible things from happening in communities all across America, but especially communities of color, because I'm here for everybody. But I can't be blind to the fact that a whole lot of the crime is happening in communities of color. And we know as a law enforcement officer, I know as a law enforcement officer, that the vast majority of the people that live in these communities are decent, law-abiding, hardworking people. But we also have to face this reality that there is a negative exception of those communities, of that same demographic, that have overly embraced a violent and dangerous culture. They have overly embraced it, and they're hurting people by the scores. And we have to be present. We have to deter it. So please, think before you speak. Stop playing games with people's lives. Get away from your Trump derangement syndrome for a second and see this as an opportunity to save lives. All right? Look, I know a lot of people are upset with the surge and the National Guard and all this stuff like that. But I'm sorry, when I hear that for 13 days straight, not one black person got murdered in D.C., that brings me joy.
Exactly.
I care about the optics. If it works, let's do it. Let's do it to save lives. So please, I don't want to be an after-the-fact entity. I did sign up to prevent crime. I did sign up for that.
He said, I didn't sign up to be an after-the-fact entity. I signed up to prevent people from dying. That was a very powerful statement right there, man. That's the job described by someone who wants, or rather, who has to knock on doors at 2 a.m. so a mother doesn't learn from a sheet. Commend this guy and his message and his approach. Now, studio debates, I guess you can call them cute, right? But street reality, it isn't. And this isn't the video I'm supposed to be on. Boom, here we go.
Just when you think Gavin Newsom has done everything he possibly can do to destroy California, he always seems to outdo himself. If you thought he was a complete a-hole, look at this.
California Governor Gavin Newsom is under fire for allegedly allowing Chinese investors to buy up Palisades fire-destroyed property, with nearly 30% of all purchases in Altadena alone. Calls are now being made for the federal government to step in and stop what some are calling a stealth invasion disguised as real estate deals. Earlier this week, footage was released showing alleged surveys of burn zones in Altadena and Pacific Palisades by Chinese buyers, with one contractor reporting requests for bulk purchases of 5 to 6 lots at a time. Last month, the report revealed that Chinese nationals spent $13.7 billion on U.S. homes from April of 2024 to March of 2025. This marks an 83% increase, with heavy focus on California markets.
If burned out lots were shopped for foreign buyers, again, allegation shows the receipts on both sides. Sunlight is prevention too. Corruption, it can't thrive off of that. Now, I want you to watch the political class and what they do when enforcement actually decided to return.
The Supreme Court, the very body that used to advance civil rights and defend personal liberties, has now given the green light for law enforcement to profile and detain Angelenos based on their race. I want the entire nation to hear me when I say this isn't just an attack on the people of Los Angeles. This is an attack on every person in this city and in every city in our country. Justice Sotomayor said it best in her dissent. She wrote, "We should not have to live in a country where the government can seize anyone who looks Latino, speaks Spanish, and appears to work in a low-wage job. Rather than stand idly by while our constitutional freedoms are lost, I dissent." And I agree with her, I dissent. We all dissent. Because from the beginning...
Wow, Supreme Court says 6-1. Ice sweeps can restart in L.A. Yeah, we knew that, though. If you truly believe enforcement doesn't prevent, this shouldn't bother you, though, right? But it does, because deep down, everyone knows the rules with teeth changes behavior. And outside the pressures, the public is speaking in neon.
Meanwhile, in Porterville, highest gas prices in America. Record crime, violence, and homelessness. Stop Newsom redistricting. Meanwhile,
Well, billboards, obviously don't pass bills, but they measure mood. Californians are tired of being told everything is fine. Wow. Having to sit there and play the highest gas or pay the highest gas and watch crime spike.
If you're not from South Central LA, if you're not from California, shut the fuck up. You don't know what the fuck is going on. Just because you put on an LA hat don't mean you're from South Central LA. Don't mean you're from California. You don't know what the fuck is going on out here, especially what's going on Figueroa. All right? You don't even know the vicinity in between what main streets and shit is happening. I'm from that bitch. I know what the fuck is going on. And then you made it seem like these women out here who are prostituting themselves are doing this shit at free will. As if, oh yeah, they're out here doing it. They're dressing, they're lying. No, they're not. They're being forced to do this shit. It's called sex trafficking, you stupid fuck. So stop making it seem like these women are doing this shit at their free will. They're not, you dumb fucker. And nobody calls Figueroa a figure, you stupid shit. Then the motherfucker had a nerve to say that Donald Trump was like he knew where the shit was going on, like he knew. No. Donald Trump is being informed what's going on, you stupid fucker. I'm glad that Figueroa is being cleaned up because Gavin Newsom and Karen Bass was not going to do shit with their dumb asses. The police are as much involved in this shit as the fucking pimps that are doing this shit. Main Street, you name it. Hoover, all these motherfuckers are involved in this shit. The police sit there and they watch the shit happen and don't do shit about it. So bring these motherfuckers out here to clean this shit up. It's about fucking time. Kids are watching these women being prostituted. Kids, little boys. You think they got respect for women when they see these men treating these women like shit? No, they don't. Karen Bass, you need your ass locked the fuck up, along with Gavin Newsom and these crooked-ass politicians and these police officers. I'm out.
Look, he's wrong. He's upset, but he's right about one thing. Exploitation, it thrives when rules get soft. Bleep out the profanity if you've got kids watching, but hit a point. Visible enforcement makes those corners less profitable for traffickers. Now, here's the line, man. Prevention is not a dirty word. Not for parents. Not for officers. Not for any neighborhood that wants kids home by dinner. So when a member of Congress says police don't prevent crime, she's not just wrong, man. She's telling every predator the door's unlocked. We're not doing that. Not here. Yeah, I'll put, let's see what we want. Put 6-3 in the comments if you made it to the end of this video. Y'all be safe. Go check on a friend today. You can quite literally be saving their life. Peace.